Well, hey, book lovers, we are back for another live book cover creation, and I am so excited to see you. Today, we're doing kind of a sci-fi urban vibe cover. It's purple. I'm so excited. We're going to dive in, and we are going to create this together. So if you're jumping in, let me know who you are and where you're joining me from. Today, we are using Photoshop CC. We are using a Wacom Intuos Pro editing tablet to prevent wrist injuries and finger injuries, and we are going to be using blue light blocking glasses to protect my eyes while we are working today. And I'm so excited because we're going to dive in and we're going to get this cover created today. Start thinking of potential titles as I am designing this, because I'm going to ask you for them in a minute. Callum, hey, thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to first pull up my cover model. I'm so excited for this one. And I am just going to grab my selection tool, and it is going to go ahead and it is going to outline her. And because this is a pretty basic background, it is just going to cut her out very nicely here. We are going to have to do a little bit of refining once we have the background up, but I want to put the background up before we get too far so you can see that we're going with this really cool, like, city-ish thing. So if you look at my grid here, my outline, my template, you can see where it's going to cut her off. It's only going to put part of her face on this cover, which I love. And you can see her skin is already picking up the purple of the city. It was a purple light over to the side of her, which means I picked a purple city to go with it. Can I color correct it? Yes. Do I want to? No, we want to go with the purple. So here we are. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to zoom in, and I'm just going to grab my brush. We're going to go on a hard round brush, 100% opacity. And I am just going to refine any edge that did not quite cut out the way that it needed to. So I'm just taking off a little bit of that halo right around her jawline there, because you can kind of see where it cut it out a little bit weird, and it has a little bit of that dark halo around it. So I'm just right up by her eye right now. I'm working my way up into her hairline, and we are just taking away that dark halo to make sure that this blends in properly. So we're just running this right along the top there. And we are just running this along her hairline where it shouldn't necessarily be super dark or super light. We're just removing that halo, but we kind of want to keep the texture of the hair. So I'm just looking at anywhere where it doesn't make sense for it to have cut off or not cut off properly. So now I'm on the far side of her face, and we're just kind of going around her ear. We're removing that halo effect. You can see where that little bit of darkness is, and we're just taking that away. And I'm excited that you are excited by this, Callum. Thanks so much for joining. If you are just jumping in, go ahead and let me know where you are joining me from, and what your favorite genre to read is, just as I go over this and remove some of that halo effect around part of her skin. So I'm moving down to the arm now. I'm not super worried about too much of this because it will be covered up a little bit. And I am just removing anything that's not quite at the right angle. Moving over to this side of her arm, you can see we definitely have more of that black halo around it. So we're just removing that dark background, which I guess is not black, it's more of a navy. But we're just removing this a little bit, and you can, wow, really see the texture in her skin. Like, that is some texturized skin, man. I'm going to grab my spot heal tool, and I'm just going to remove some of, not all of, just some of the more pronounced bumps on her skin, just because we want it to be a little bit softer. And I'm just kind of blending this in a little bit. I can also do this with my clone tool on a low opacity, so I could bring that down to like 28% opacity and just kind of pass over it to smooth out the skin a little bit, but I'm really not smoothing out the skin. I'm just removing some of the more pronounced hairs on her arm and some of the blemishes that are not naturally part of her skin. So you can tell where the pores are, and you can tell where, like, blemishes are. Those are the things I'm just kind of tweaking a little bit now. And lower on her arm here, I actually may go in and grab my clone tool, and then on 28% opacity. Sorry, that was the wrong number. Wow. Ooh, it has to be lighter than that. Okay, we're gonna go down to like 13% opacity, and I just want to blend some of this in just a little bit, just to kind of blend in some of those hairs that is very pronounced comparatively to some of her other skins. We just want to make sure it doesn't look too scaly. on her arm there with the lighting that they used. And so I'm just coming in and I'm just retouching the skin just a little bit. If I were doing this for an actual photo, I would actually go in and do more of a beauty retouching, but it's going to be a little bit different than what we're doing for here, especially since we don't have to pay that close of attention to it because it's not being blown up very big. So I'm just softening some of the lines on her hands right now. Again, I'm still on that clone tool, 13% opacity. And Riley, hey girl, and Hannah also joining us today. Fantastic. I'm excited that you guys are here. I'm just checking for anything that I need to retouch on her skin or on her face. I think we're pretty good with that. So I'm going to pull back out so that we can see our look, and you can see where it's going to cut off that face. We just want part of her face in this cover. So now we need to continue on with what we're doing. So if we are looking at this from a photography composite viewpoint, we got to fix this background. The background is not going to be in focus. If the person is in focus and the background is also in focus, that means there's something wrong. It means it's clearly Photoshopped. So I'm just going to duplicate this layer so that I can show you the difference. And I'm going to go into Filter, down to Blur, down to Gaussian Blur, and then I am going to pull up my blur so that it definitely looks like it's in the background. And look, all of a sudden, that just makes so much more sense. I like it at the radius it is, 3.1, but I'm going to bump it up a little bit more to see if I like it more or less. Oh, I'm going to move it down just a little bit. I'm just trying to find, there we go. I think that's the sweet spot. I'm at 4.2 pixels right now for my radius. That's not going to be the same for everything. Of course, you're going to have to do some trial and error, but like, look how cool that is. What is this book for? This is a pre-made cover, Riley. So I allow authors and publishers to buy these while I'm on air for half price. Otherwise, it goes to coveraday.com. I am going to be needing a title. So I want a big, bold title that we can put kind of in this empty-ish space up by her face. So now's the time. Get in my comments and let me know, what should we call this? I am going to take some ideas from you in just a minute. I am also very excited about this because y'all know I love my lighting. So I got some flares for us to use today. So I'm going to come in and I am going to, okay, we'll just turn it on. I had been testing this. So this was, when I started, this was a flare like this, and if you put it up here, all of a sudden it turns our normal book cover into an alien book, which we're not doing. So I actually rotated that and I turned it down this way so it looks like the light's coming from up in the city, which I very much like. I do need to adjust this a bit. First step is to put a layer mask on it, and then on a soft round brush, 100% opacity, I am going to get rid of the lines on the top of this, so you can clearly see where the lines are there. We're just getting rid of those and blending this in. And this actually, I think I'm going to leave that back where it is, and I'm going to drag this beneath her layer. There we go, so it's not on her skin. So look at how that already really affects what we're doing here. I love this, but I want to darken it down just a little bit. So I'm going to add in a brightness and contrast panel and use a clipping mask to adjust it just to that layer. It's only going to affect that layer. And then I'm going to mess with my contrast. And, oh, also mess with my brightness. Look at that. I love that. I love it. So I'm just going to move this a little bit to see where I potentially want this to be, where it makes the most sense. And I think right about there is where I kind of like that situated. So that's pretty good. If you're jumping in, now's the time to let me know what we should be calling this. I don't have a title idea for this. I am relying on you. So please get in my comments. Give me some sci-fi-y type or dystopian-y type ideas for titles. Maybe City of something. Think it through. Think about it. Put it in my comments. And I'm going to continue to work with some of the cool flares. Of course, we can make her look kind of magically there, but we're not gonna do that. So I am gonna come down here and I am going to move this behind her. And I'm going to potentially move this around. This is very, very on the bright side. We might need to chill this baby out a little bit. That's a little bit much. But I'm going to put a brightness and contrast panel in there. I'm going to use my clipping mask. I'm going to bump up my contrast, and then I'm going to bump down my brightness. And there, that makes it a little more effective. So then I just need to move this around, kind of see where Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so that makes her face pop a little bit. I liked it up higher. That's actually pretty nice, and it looks like it could, you know, be the lights blended on a road or something in the city behind. This city lights background is beautiful. Isn't it pretty? It is so pretty. I'm loving all the purpley colors. So my next step, while you all are coming up with a title, this is your job, guys. This is why you're here. I am going to add in some flares. So I am going to be creating lights on our buildings, and I am actually going to kind of move it around to see where it might look good. These could potentially change with our title, so we have to move it to make it look proper. And I want to use different-ish flares for this so that it stands out in different ways, because no light is going to be exactly the same. And I am just pulling different flares now. I have some new flares to play with today. And I am just moving these around on my cover to make it look like it's coming from some of the buildings. Things in the back, of course, are going to be more of a muted color. So we would, of course, when we get to that point, lower our opacity. I love lowering opacities and doing the different things. And you can see how that, like, whoo, that very clearly stands out there. I feel like this is probably not the right one for that building, but let me show you how when I back it off, you see it still glows a little bit, but it's a little bit not as bad. I'm just adjusting the placement of this. Actually, that could potentially work. Oh, yeah, that works there. We can live with that. I'm good with that. It's all good. We are going to continue to add flares and to do different things on the front and back cover of this book. This, of course, will change a little bit. The spine will change a little bit, and the back cover will change a little bit based on the size of the book that the author writes. Who buys this? So it will be a little bit different, obviously, and it will have to be adjusted when somebody does go ahead and grab that for themselves, which, by the way, ooh, I really like that placement where that was. I have to do it again. It moved. If you want to buy this, you can get it for only $100 while we are here at live today. Otherwise, it goes over to cover day. It will be at least double that. As I'm adding in more flares, and I hope y'all are giving me title ideas. I love it when you guys come up with title ideas for these different things. And I'm loving these blue flares today. Yes, please. I need more of these blue flares in my life. I'm just saying. I'm just kind of adjusting things. And ooh. Okay. I liked that. I kind of like that it's highlighting some of these buildings. Let me just... Nope, that didn't work. That did not work the way that I wanted that to work. Oh, there we go. I like that one. Sometimes you just have to adjust the placement to see where things are going to fit. Today's is going to be a little bit shorter of a stream because we are going really fast on this unless we come up with some interesting concept we all want to do. But look how cool that looks. Wait until I do the color contrast on this. I'm excited. I do need to add in some purpley lighting because obviously we've got the purple on her skin tone. So we're going to add some of that in just a minute, but we need to get to our titles. And y'all have not sent me titles, so I guess I'm making a title. Let me go ahead. I'm going to duplicate my fancy hook line on the back there, and this could potentially actually be a font that we are going to use. And let's see, we're going to come up with a dystopian-y type title. I'm terrible at coming up with titles on the spot, so let's go with City. Oh, I do think I like this font. I do think I like the font with this. It makes it very sci-fi. City. And we'll say on the... Because I have no idea what I'm doing, you guys. City on the... And I'll have to put some type of like flare behind that or darken it down in some way to make it pop a little bit, or, you know, arrange it a little bit differently as well. City of Black. Okay. I got you, Riley. Let's do it. Because I didn't know where I was going. Wait, City what? City of Black. City of Black. Let's do that. We can do that. I'm good with that. City of... Not how you spell that, but okay. City of... And then Sometimes it grabs the wrong one. Sorry. City of Black. That's also not how you spell that. There we go. You could tell I'm a writer by my fantastic spelling skills today. There we go. Okay, City of Black. What else we got? City of the Brink. On the horizon. Oh, now I'm getting things. Okay. City of the Black Horizon. Hey. Okay. We're gonna run with it because we can. Because it's gonna change anyway. Whoever buys it is gonna rename it whatever they want. Let's see if I can spell horizon correctly. Horizon. Beautiful. And then I'm just going to adjust the placement for that because I'm not loving where it is. There we go. Well, that looks kind of cool. Y'all, now you're being all buddy about the titles in there. I love it. Okay. So I need to make this stand out a little bit more, which means I'm going to do some playing with this. So I'm going to go into the effects on my words, and obviously we have to do one at a time because I put them all on different layers. So I'm going to go into the word black, and I am going to, oh, that's better. I'm just going to bump that up a little bit. So what I'm going to do, instead of doing it each individually, I'm just going to pull the effects off of the other words, and then I'm going to add them back in. What did I miss? Oh, there it is. I knew there was one that I missed. So to get the effects on the other layers, all you have to do is hold down the Option key on a Mac and drag the effect. And then you can go in and manually adjust if you need to manually adjust some things to make everything fit. Okay. And I feel like I want to change city just a little bit. I feel like it's not quite the way that I want it. So I'm just going to go down to the effects on the city layer. And I am just going to spread that out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to lower the opacity. Oh, I didn't like it. So we're going to leave it just like that. Now, the alt to this is that I could do an outer glow. But I don't think that's going to look the way that I want it to. Let me just, I'm going to duplicate the city layer real quick. I'm going to go into my effects. I'm going to remove my that and put that in. I know, that was so informative. Remove the drop shadow and pull up my outer glow, at which point I would need to change my coloring for that. And I'm not particularly loving the glowy effect on this one. So that's a hard no. That's a no. So we're going to leave it just like that. That's the way we're going to do this. It's going to be good. You're liking the combination of the titles. See, that's what we like to do here. We take little bits and pieces from everybody and we piece it all together. I am going to add in some lights. I'm going to add in some flare, some brightness, like all the things. Before I do that, though, I do want to make sure that I am adding in my author name. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to grab another one of those. I'm going to make it smaller in a second. We're going to say author name, and then we are going to reduce the size of this. So I'm just hitting Command T for transform, and I'm going to put my author name right there. I also have the ability, if I wanted, to have the author name up here. But I don't. I don't want that. I do want it down on the bottom. Sometimes you got to just try things and see where it all fits. And of course, we are centering this in between the guidelines and making sure they're up above the guidelines so that they get printed and not cut off of the book. So far, so good. Next thing I want to do, and we're going to add flares in a minute, but I do want to adjust my coloring because right now I just really, really want to adjust my coloring. So I'm going to go into a brightness and contrast panel, which seems to be my thing today. I'm going to bump up my contrast. I'm going to bump up my brightness. And then I am potentially going to go into a curves panel. So I'm going to pull up my curves panel. I'm going to go from RGB down to blue, and I'm going to drag it over to the blue side of things. And then I'm just going to adjust it. I'm going to add on a little bit of an S curve to get some yellow back in there. Is that just like really? I do like it a little bit more on the yellow side, don't I? Hang on. Let's find out what I'm going to do here. Get rid of that. Make things a little more yellow. Oh, because I turned it off. That is why. That would be the problem. Okay. I didn't like it, so I'm going to remove that. What I'm going to do is her skin may be a little yellow for my taste, so I'm just going to go down to the layer with my model on it, and I am just going to add a curves panel right above that and use a clipping mask to attach it just to that layer so it doesn't affect anything above or below, just the one that it is clipped to. I'm going to go from RGB over to blue. I know, fancy Photoshop words. And I'm going to drag it over to the blue side to remove some of that yellow. I do want a little bit of an S curve in here, so I'm going to pull it back slightly. There we go. Yeah, that works. That works for me. I can live with it. Awesome. You like it below to the author name. Yep, me too. So now I'm going to go back up to the top of what I am doing here, and I am going to add in my pretty flares. And so I'm just looking to see what flare I want where. I think this one might be good, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that in. I'm going to switch my blend mode to screen, and then we are going to put it on some letters. Which letters? We don't know yet. We're going to find out. I'm just attempting to adjust where that is located. And make that a little bit smaller. We're going to put this up, down a little bit. Maybe not there. Oh, that's better. That's better on the A, I think. It's going to help. And we just have to adjust it so that it is centered. And then we'll put another one up on city. Yep, on the eye. And we're just going to adjust that so that that is also centered and lower. There we go. Nice. Now, another thing that we can do that I didn't have up there, I think I might darken up a little bit of this. So I'm going to go down to my city layer, or right above my city layer, which is, there it is. I'm just going to grab a section of it just with my lasso tool, and I'm going to go into a brightness and contrast panel, and I'm going to bump down the brightness and up the contrast, and that just took it to a very dark place there. That's a little bit better. And on my soft round brush, 100% opacity, I am just going to fill in some of, but not all of, we don't want all of that being dark like that. And then I'm just going to use it to kind of go around the edge just to kind of bring it in a little bit. Nice. Now look at the difference. I'm going to turn this on and off. So we've got bright and airy, and we've got a little bit more of the darker side of things. I think I'm going to reduce my opacity on that just by a couple of percents, just to kind of blend that in. And I like it. I do like this. You guys liking this? Let me know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I think I actually may add in one more flare, because I want to just kind of try to do a little bit of purple. So it's that same one that we used down on the bottom. I'm just going to transform it and rotate 90 degrees clockwise. And then I'm going to drag this over here, and we're going to remove some of it, I think. But I just want a little bit of like purpley-ish glow. There we go. And then, of course, because it is light, I am going to add that brightness and contrast panel, clipping mask to it, drag my brightness down and my contrast up. I might need to reposition this. I'm going to move this real fast up a little bit. I don't think I'm loving that. Nope, I don't love it, so that's going to go. What I am going to do, however, is add in a blank layer. I'm going to go to my gradient tool. I'm going to make sure my gradient tool is color over transparent. And I'm going to grab the radial gradient tool, so the one that makes a circle. And I'm going to grab a purpley color, and I'm just going to kind of bring in some light over here on the side. I didn't like that last one. And I'm just going to go through my blend modes here and see what I like for bringing in a little bit more of a purpley tone to it, just because we want that light. Linear dodge, not bad. Let's see. Well, color just colorizes it. So maybe I actually do want to leave it on normal and just reduce my opacity. Sometimes that's what you got to do to make the glowy effect. Look at that. Nice. All right. I was looking at comments. Let's see. Now I could, if I want, I could potentially do a little bit of flare work over my model. So let me just bring that in, and I'll look for more of a roundish flare here. This one might be good. I'm going to bring that in, change my blend mode to screen. You can see how harsh those lines are. That is... We're going to change. We're not going to change. There we go. Nope, that was not it. The harsh lines. We need to get rid of those harsh lines. We don't like the harsh lines. So we're going to go up to filter, down to blur, Gaussian blur, and we are going to blur until we are happy with the lines. It's giving me the spinning color wheel of death, so we might have to wait for just a second. There we go. And you can see we're still leaving in a lot of the like vibes of the line, but we're not leaving in the harsh lines, which we can leave there on her shoulder if we want. Like it's coming off over the edge there, or we can move it back. I'm just kind of adjusting to see where I might like that. There we go. That's kind of nice. I can live with that. Now I could potentially be putting some stars in the sky. You can kind of see that there are some mountains back there as well. So I don't know if I necessarily want to. I may drag in my brush, which I didn't have set up because I didn't know I was going to need that, but I am going to drag that in real fast. And we are potentially going to be adding a little bit of star work to our top part of the cover here. And we're just waiting for that to load. Sometimes it takes a hot minute for it to load, and then we will be able to move forward as soon as it loads. But you can kind of see where we're going with this. Again, if you are an author or publisher and this is your book cover, $100 while we're here on air. You can go to coveraday.com to find out how to do that. But you can claim it right now, and then you've got a couple minutes to actually pay the invoice for that one. Otherwise, it goes to coveraday.com, and you will be able to access all of my past pre-made covers that are still available to you, as well as customized covers and all the fun, fabulous things on coveraday.com. You can see the different genres and all the fun things that we are creating for that. I now have my brush. Hooray! I'm adding in that blank layer, and that is way too big for my stars. It's actually a debris brush. So we're just kind of adding in some that is, again, too much. Too much. So let me just sprinkle them in. Sometimes instead of dragging it, you actually have to tap them in one at a dang time. So we're just adding some of those in there. Beautiful, lovely, wonderful. I'm going to make another layer and make a couple of bigger stars. And that was actually too much of a clump right there. So moving back. There we go. And we're just putting some of those in there. But I definitely got it over the mountain, so I have to erase just a couple of those. There we go. Beautiful. If I want to make those a bit more vibrant, I can just duplicate that layer so you can see how that looked right there. And then I'm noticing a line. So if you look at the left side of my cover, there's a line over the word fancy. I got to figure out what flare that goes to and fix it. And so I'm just testing all of my flares now. Anything that could potentially... Oh, I think I found it. Yep. So I'm just putting a layer mask on that. 100% opacity, soft round brush on black. I am getting rid of that line. And then I'm just going to turn it on and off to make sure I didn't miss a line anywhere. And then we're good to go. Y'all, we just created this in half an hour. I do have to put my title over on my spine. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move up to my title. And I am just going to, because it is going to change anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and I am going to, I found my author name. I'm going to duplicate my author name, transform 90 degrees clockwise, and I'm going to drag that right on over to my spine, make it smaller, and then I am just going to actually duplicate that. I'm going to drag it up to the top here. And I am just going to retype my title in rather than move it. So we're going to call it City of the Black Horizon. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to put that right there. That is kind of harsh with the black. So I'm going to go into my drop shadow. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit by reducing my size. There you go. That's a lot better. I'm also going to do the same thing on the author name, going into the effects and pulling back the size. Not quite that far. There we go. There we go. So the only thing left to do is to go into my fancy hook line. And again, we're going to mess with our drop shadow. And we're actually going to increase that so that it stands out a little bit better here. There we go. And then, of course, any text there will be changed up. We may actually add a more solid background or some flares in the back, but you can kind of see how that works for now. And this is our completed cover for today, as I just pull up my contrast a little bit more and pull up my brightness just a little bit more, and we save our file. Fantastic. Alrighty. Yeah, it does look pretty neat, doesn't it? I'm super excited for this. So we are finished with today's cover super early. I'm so excited, which means I can actually go out and celebrate my 100 episodes of the Author Convo series on TikTok. I'm going to go get myself some fancy dinner and bring it back and eat. I'm so excited. So thank you all so much for joining me. Let me know, what genre should we do next week? Should we do dystopia, paranormal romance? Should we have couples on there? Should we do contemporary? Should we do a text-based? Should we do something that looks a little more trad? What do you want? Let me know what you want. We're gonna vote on it next week, and we'll be back here for another live cover design every single Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Set your alarms if you've not subscribed here on the YouTube channel, and hit the subscribe and notification bell. Do it. I've major stuff dropping that you can't find anywhere else here on the YouTube page, and I'm so excited for all the live streams and all the fun with you guys. If you have not left some love on my TikTok for the 100th episode of the Author Convo series, please go do that now. That really helps me out. And I've got some really cool content coming for you over there as well. Thank you all so much for the love for this cover. You can head over to coveraday.com for more covers, more behind the scenes, and all the really cool, fabulous, wonderful things over there. I will see you in our next live stream. Until then, my friends, I hope you have a fantastic